me they're expecting anybody to join, any of the members to join online. I don't need to make any of those announcements.
Paris, I know that Councillor Claire Jones was going to try and join online. I know that.
We'll need to start the meeting on time. So if she joins us part way through, we'll. Oh, unless.
Gareth, we've had no requests from any councillors. So we haven't sent an invitation to any councillors. We've had no formal request from them.
In that case, she won't be able to join in that way. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll hand back to you for you to open the meeting formally.
Thank you. Prynon Darkrai. So, good afternoon. Welcome to the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Full Council meeting on today, Wednesday, the 12th of July, 2023. Please note that this meeting has been recorded and may be broadcast by the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. First item on the agenda, apologies for absence.
I'm not aware of any, unless no. So no, there are no apologies for absence. Oh, and yeah, there are some. Mr. Mayor, if you want to take those.
I better give apologies for Councillor Claire Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Kevin Gibbs and Councillor Ernie Goldsworthy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. No one is indicating. Before we move on to the agenda proper, Councillor Geraint-Thomas would just like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It'd be remiss of all of us in here tonight not to pay our thanks really to Jane Overbury, who it's a final council meeting this evening, and I know Jane is not hanging about towards the end of the meeting, so I thought we better do it now. She's worked for the local authority for 17 years, for this being longer, but 30 years, but 17 years as the mayor secretary.
So good.
I know she does. I know she does. But the as the mayor secretary and the leader's PA, she's fondly known to all of us as Sergeant Major Overbury. She's kept us in check for all these years, and without her, it's been, it's difficult. It's a difficult job without her, and she looks after our diaries, books us our events, and really keeps our diaries under control. So we're really going to miss Jane, and whoever fills your shoes, Jane has got big boots to fill, really, not shoes. So on behalf of all the council, we wish you well and thank you for all the service that you've given us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Thomas. Next item, item number 3, notice a question from the member of the public. When will the WAO report on the review of whistleblowing arrangements relating to safeguarding at Merthyr Council be considered at full council? And I understand that Councillor Julia Jenkins is going to respond to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There have been 2 reports from Welsh Audit Office in recent years in respect to safeguarding, both in August 2019. These were a review of corporate arrangements for safeguarding and a review of whistleblowing arrangements relating to safeguarding. The initial audits were linked to a national piece of work across all 22 authorities, which was linked to a previous safeguarding audit 2015. Following the 2015 report, Welsh Audit Office felt the Council had responded positively to all the corporate safeguarding recommendations. They felt the corporate leadership had taken appropriate steps to increase awareness of safeguarding across the Council and its partners, and that there were clear procedures in place for the safe recruitment of staff. In response to the recommendations, the Corporate Safeguarding Reference Group was relaunched, and each department within the Council is represented at that meeting, ensuring that each department has someone who is championing safeguarding in their area. The group meets quarterly and also includes elected members, the Cabinet Member for Social Services, the Shadow Cabinet Member and the Safeguarding Champion. Within these meetings, we monitor and review training of staff and elected members around safeguarding, raise awareness where required and ensure the appropriate training is completed. We've also developed a corporate safeguarding policy, which is in line with the Cwmtaf Morgannwg Safeguarding Board policy. Safeguarding is an annual agenda item on the Social Services Scrutiny Committee to update on what work is being done in the area. In response to whistleblowing, the audit was completed following correspondence received in September 2018. There were 5 recommendations, all of which have been completed. The recommendations linked to the above in that we developed a corporate safeguarding policy and had the corporate safeguarding reference group where training and awareness raising is discussed and rolled out in all areas of the council. The whistleblowing policy was also discussed and reviewed. Communications were sent out to all staff and elected members raising awareness of this policy. The updated policy was presented to council this year. In respect of schools, Welsh Government have developed a whistleblowing policy, which has been shared with all governing bodies. This policy is one that needs to be reviewed and accepted on an annual basis. In relation to HR recommendations, there is sufficient capacity to fulfil its statutory duties with schools. Also, regular SLA questionnaires are undertaken to ensure the service provided is reviewed. Consultation takes place to ensure any changes are implemented and the agreement reviewed. Good progress has been made in this area and there is regular scrutiny of this work. Corporate reference groups link closely with the board work. Following these reviews, an internal audit was commissioned to look at the recommendations and an information report was shared with the Cabinet in July 2021. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. Agenda item number 4, minutes of previous meetings. To approve as accurate the minutes of the meetings, and that's items 4A to 4J on the agenda. Have we got a mover for that, please?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, before anybody moves.
Sorry, you did
seconds that,
say.
yes.
I forgot.
In case Councillor David Jones has to shout out, it's the minutes of standards, which are at page 13 of your agenda. There's a correction needed there because we have an independent member who is called Dawn Jones, and that has been added into the councillors as Councillor David Jones. So we'll need to amend that because Councillor David Jones is not a member of that committee.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thomas.
Happy to move the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments? Any questions? Councillor Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's on page 19, agenda item 4E, licensing committee, Monday the 12th of June. Turn over the page under page 20, under minute number 27, very last sentence of the minutes. It says councillors recommend that residents attend PAT meetings for the ward. That should in fact be packed meetings.
Thank you. We'll make that amendment for you. Anybody else? No, we'll take that to the vote then, please.
We still need votes from Councillor David Jones. There, that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 5, revenue budget 2023 to 24 transformation programme phase 3. To consider the report of the Chief Executive, and I believe it's Councillor Andrew Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the revenue budget 23-24 transformation programme phase 3. At full council on the 8th of March 2023, members approved the revenue budget for 23-24 financial year. Approved budget requirement for 23-24 is 152.654 million. Included were in-year savings of £798,000. The first tranche were put to council on in April 2023, 345,000. The second tranche in June 2023, which transpired at 198,000, and the third tranche is before us this evening, which is 255,000. The first tranche included human resources, lifeline planning, building control, benefits assessor, and the mayor's and leaders PA. The second tranche included reconfiguring, supporting a change team and the landscape architect. Outlined in section 4, table 1 at 4.1, page 62 of your papers, you'll see the £255,000 worth of savings for phase 3, which are the non-general fund allocations of 100,000, discretionary NDR, non-domestic rates relief 50,000, rent allowances at 40,000, and car parking 65,000, totaling the 255,000 that we're looking for as an authority. The rationale to each of the budget environments can be seen in Appendix 1. There are 2 recommendations, Mr Mayor. 2.1, the budget environment proposals outlined in Section 4 and Appendix 1 be approved, and 2.2, identification of the residual savings requirement for the period 2024-25 to 2026-27 within the budget setting exercise for 2024-25 be approved. I may move the phase 3 proposal, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Councillor Geraghty.
Second that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions, please? Councillor Declan Salmon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's just a quick question in regards to the parking services. As the council and community continues to recover from the pandemic, it is evident that the income from car parking services is beginning to return to pre-pandemic levels. Can I just check, are car parking charges staying the same? They're not going to increase at this time?
Yes, as far as car parking charges, as far as I'm aware, they just will be staying the same. So
Lovely.
there's no indication at this time that they just will be increased, so they will be staying the same.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
I'll have to
Mr. Mayor.
check on it and to make sure, but that is my understanding at this stage.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Councillor Jamie Scriven.
Just sort of like following on, Mr Mayor, from Councillor Salmon's question. So is the parking charge inclusive only parking, or does that include PCNs as well?
Yes, it's the total car parking income will be the fees, and also some of those enforcement notices as well will be included as part of that income.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Any other questions? No one is indicating. Are there any comments, please? No one is indicating, so we'll take that to the vote. Okay, thank you. Next item is agenda item number 6, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's participation strategy 2023 to 2028. To consider the report of the Chief Executive, and that's Councillor Andrew Barry again, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Participation strategy 23 to 28. Local government elections, Wales Act 2021 want local people to participate more in the decision-making process, make it more accessible. We follow RCT closely, and all councils in Wales endorse the national principles for public engagement in Wales. In true consultation form, we went out to consult on the strategy for 2 weeks in April this year, and of the 58,800 residents of Merthyr, 11 people responded. Within the report, you'll see that 11 of the 11 people that responded, 72.7%, so nearly 8 people said the strategy was easy to understand, which means 23.3% didn't find it so easy, or just over 3 people struggled with it. A public consultation to reduce the default speed limit restrictions in Wales from 30 to 20 miles an hour this year was introduced by Lee Waters, Deputy Minister in the Welsh Government. Of our 3.21 million residents in Wales, just over 6,000 responses were received from residents who took part, and 53% were against reducing the speed limit. So that's going to be introduced in September. So much for participation, Mr. Mayor. Corporate support scrutiny were presented the strategy on the 25th of April 2023 this year, the recommendation of which there's one council commit to the approach to increase participation in line with the relevant changes under the Local Government and Election Wales Act 21, and that the strategy be approved, Mr. Mayor. I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Second the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the report? No, no one has indicated. So are there any comments on the report, please? Councillor Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 51 of the report, paragraph 8, it says there we went out to consultation on this strategy for 2 weeks from Tuesday the 11th of April until Tuesday the 25th of April 2023. That happened to be the Easter fortnight. I don't, the timing of these consultations is extremely important. I don't consider that to be the optimum time of going out for consultation. Lots of people are away from Merthyr Tydfil. And frankly, of the nearly 59,000 population in Merthyr Tydfil, I don't think you consider 11 people an overwhelming response to it.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Are there any other comments? No, so we'll take that to a vote then, please. Okay, thank you. Next item is item number 7 on the agenda, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's Communications and Engagement Strategy 2023 to 2028. And it's Councillor Andrew Barry again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Communication Engagement Strategy 2020. Our aim is to increase engagement with our residents and encourage feedback to help shape future services. With engagement painfully low, as identified there by Councillor Jones. A strategy or policy, can a strategy or policy solve that problem? Meaningful consultation is based on validity and reliability. From the last paper, as identified there, participation, is it valid to consider 11 people, as Councillor Jones questions, of the 58,000? If an exercise is not valid, then it can't be reliable as a tool on which to base the policy. The answer lies in the correlation between faith in the political classes and the systems and engagement with our residents. 58,800 residents in Merthyr Tydfil using the election. 45,000 registered to vote, only 15,000 did. Only 3 in 10 people vote. How can we expect a strategy or policy to correct that? This is a crisis in the democratic process, and why? Dire state of the economy, stubbornly high inflation rates, soaring interest rates, NHS folding under pressure. And on top of that, the behaviour of political classes, from the Prime Minister at central government to members in this chamber, Mr. Mayor. Behaviour that sits outside the parameters set by the Constitution, damages every councillor, every engagement, every consultation. Point taken about the timing. That's why we have to be more accurate in terms of how we engage with the timing of this, because everything takes into consideration our response. But ultimately, we have to have a democratically accountable system. And do we have one? A question for another time, I think. Ultimately, the public will determine what happens next. It isn't great at the moment. It's no reflection on the staff or the team or the policy or the strategy. There's just disillusionment in the system. And we have to address that at some point. And that's a bigger picture than this chamber can deal with. Recommendation 2.1. Council consider and endorse the principles of the approach as outlined in the new communication engagement strategy for 23-28. and that this strategy be approved, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Second report, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the report, please? Councillor Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have a question, but I have a correction. I was spelling on page 78. It's in paragraph 3.5, first part of the sentence there. The word royal assent is an incorrect spelling in the word assent. If that can be corrected, please. My question is in relation, is on page 81, paragraph 5.4. Last sentence reads, we will also endeavour to fill any vacant co-opted members' positions to ensure there is a wider voice present at scrutiny, including the voice of those who work and live within the county borough. I note that in the reports from the scrutiny committees, am I? Oh, sorry, I did it again.
Ignore that question for this item. I'm doing that.
Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself again, Clive. So did you have any other questions on this report? Clive? No, nothing else. Councillor Anna Williams-Price, then, please.
Thank you. Councillor Barry, could you advise whether any specific consideration was given to use of the Welsh language in engaging with our residents who are Welsh speakers?
You mean within the consultation of the report, or generally you're talking about?
So the strategy itself doesn't give any reference to specific engagement with Welsh speakers. And so the question really is whether you think there needs to be a specific strategy when communicating with residents who are Welsh speakers.
Well, we're determined by Welsh Government in terms of what we do. I'll hand over to Kerry, who wrote the report. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Barry. This is just a matter of course for us, so we will always engage as part of the Welsh medium in everything we do. Perhaps we can make it a little bit clearer. You know, we're happy to take on board your comments and make it a bit clearer in the strategy. It's part of our Welsh language strategy anyway. Standard, sorry, apologies.
Okay. Anything else, Councillor Williams-Price?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jamie Scriven, then, please.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. My question, I guess, can sort of link to this and both to the participation strategy, but it's more about how we look at feedback loops and how we're getting information, especially from executive decision making back to the public, anything at full council. And it's something that we brought up with the WLGA reviews in terms of scrutiny. That is something that we don't do. We identify as particularly for scrutiny, is we're not really shouting it from the rooftops and saying what's going on within these decisions and the meetings we're having. So I guess from that perspective, with this engagement strategy, is there anything within this or anything that the executive thought of in terms of how we're actually feedbacking with the public, and that's excluding the digital side of things, because that is mentioned in here, but that's a small part.
Jamie, it obviously plays a key part when we look at any decision-making process in terms of what the consultation says. But I go back to the participation strategy as well as the strategy we're talking of here. There's a balance, isn't there, between what those consultations are saying and those numbers that are coming back. And then, for example, looking at this chamber, and there's 15,000 people that have voted for the members in this chamber. And we have to look at those members and decide, have we been given the ability to make decisions? And I think we have from the election, 15,000 people. When you consider the one response from the participation strategy, which was 11 people. Now, we can't truly take those sorts of numbers and realistically accept that they're valid or reliable as a system to make the decisions off the back of. So there's a balance here. And I think as soon as we can redress the numbers issue in terms of who responds and how they respond, then we can begin to include that more heavily as being more heavily weighted in the decision-making process. But as it is at the moment, this chamber and cabinet are the key decision-making principal measures of governance that we've got at the moment.
Okay, Jamie, did you have a follow-up?
It was okay if I just respond to that, Mr. Mayor? Yes, thank you for your answer, Andrew. I just guess my only thing to that would be is in terms of the priority of increasing those engagement figures, I think that in terms of integrating the feedback loops is going to be just as important, and I think they counterbalance each other as well. I think I don't think it'd be right for us to focus on one aspect, and I totally agree with you. How engagement figures are shocking, which is also quite concerning when I think in terms of as a community, especially that I work with young people, we've got one of the best processes for introducing democratic engagement through the Youth Mayor Initiative, and I was running through schools to actually build active citizenship, but yet that's not reflecting our numbers later down the line. So I would just say to I guess looking at that feedback loop, it being just as valid and as important as increasing those engagement figures might be worth us looking at, because I think that it might have an impact, because I don't understand the way our numbers are working and what's going on. It's quite baffling to actually look at in terms of what we are doing and why we're getting such low response. But I do thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Councillor Geraint Thomas, we're still on questions, by the way, Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, and I was going to come in as the part answer what Jamie asked as well, you know, about our engagement as an executive. I think it's important that we get out into our borough as much as possible. We fully engage in the budget setting process, and we go to different venues around Merthyr. And I think over the last year or two as well, with the new consultation hub that's in the town centre, when we've been there and we're actually speaking to the general public, it's great to get their feedback, because you get it fresh and you're getting it hot as well. But perhaps what we need to do perhaps is record what gets said there, and the numbers that actually come through those doors as well, as part of the consultation and participation process.
Did you have another question, Councillor Scriven, or did you want to make a comment when we're on comments?
Right, so thanks, Geraint. Just in regards to that comment, then, so am I right in understanding that whoever does come through that hub, we don't record those figures at all currently?
Councillor Scrivens, yeah, we do record any consultation and engagement activities we do. We do record the numbers and the people who participated. Just to reiterate as well what you just said, the council's ethos is that we asked, you said, we did. So just making reference, obviously, to closing that loop, that's something that we try and endeavour to do, you know, at every opportunity. But obviously there is areas to improve on that anyway moving forward.
Yeah, so I thanks, Greg. So I guess we've got the framework. It's more the mechanism how we're doing it is where we're falling down then, which is not rare. I think there's a lot of other authorities that have got that situation for something for us to look at. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on to comments, I'd like to welcome Councillor Galsworthy and Councillor Claire Jones to the meeting. Unfortunately, you won't be able to vote on this item because you weren't here for the start of it, but welcome to the meeting, both. So are there any comments on this report? Councillor Declan Salmon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just in regards to Councillor Anna Williams-Price asking about the Welsh strategy. I do believe the Commons Department have got a Welsh strategy already in place for any communications to go out on the Facebook and Twitter accounts, so that it's always duplicated in Welsh and English. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to support Kerry and the team, really, you know, they are a small team, and get through, you know, a hell of a lot of work. And it's a difficult job because they've got to carry out a strategy on the same scale that Cardiff has to, and it is only a small team. I think I was at a meeting this morning at the Red House talking to it was the Cyfarthfa Foundation, it was, and the Red House was packed. You know, there was about 60 people in the room talking about, you know, the future of the Cyfarthfa project. But what really shocked me was the age. There weren't many under 60, to be fair, in that room. And what we've got to try and do is, you know, get down to the youngsters. where are the young people? Why aren't the young people engaging? And when I'm talking young people, I'm talking 40 and below, right? Because, you know, most of us are over 50 years of age. You know, not you, Jamie, and not you, Scott, but most of us are over 50 years of age. And you, Shah, sorry. But
Ooh, I was a close.
it was a close one. I can see, and I can see, I can see, it's stones coming everywhere.
Yeah, yes. Stop digging, Councillor Thomas. Stop digging.
But I think really, you know, we got to find out why aren't they engaging? You know, they're the same people that are not voting. It is the young people, and we've got to dig down deep and find out what's going on there. Really, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Scriven.
Yeah, I just say I agree with what Geraint has said completely in terms of that, as I've already said before, and it's quite shocking when you look at the systems we've got in place, how well we do with young people's participation. It's not being reflected in the adult services or how we're engaging as a council. And like I know Kerry and the team are doing as much work as they can, and it might be these little tweaks about looking at the mechanisms, the way in which we're engaging with people. I don't know how successful we are in terms of the word, because we do have an adult citizen panel, if I'm correct, from what I see with the hub anyway, and things I look at on the internet.
We're trying to recruit to that, and we've publicised on our website as well as Contact Magazine. Very, very low, if any, take up, isn't it? But with regards to the young people, we've been talking about this today in the office, you know, we want to, that's part of our plan, is to engage young people a lot more, even if it means us going out to the schools and the face-to-face activities. So so that's part of our plan moving forward.
And that's exactly where I was going to come to with my comments, actually, Kerry, is looking at those different ways that we can do things. Obviously, we're not at the capacity we had previously where we could have a mentor program that worked within the schools. You know, we're very far away from that reality that we had, say, back in 2003. We're in a really difficult situation where we've got to look at the options we've got on the table. So, and that means utilising what's there as well as much as we can. So that whether that's using the youth forums that are in place, the clubs that we do have, going into the schools, like you were saying. And if that's something that we can pick up as elected members, and there's more that we can do, and whether that means having some training, or specifically some work around how to engage with young people and the different types of participation strategies that work with them would be useful. But I think that's really important, and I also think from my perspective, I'd go as far as we looking at constitutional review and whether or not elected members of the room support of the constitution also enforces that young people should be a member of each scrutiny panel, that it's actually in black and white that we make a commitment to do that. And I think it's really important because we're doing such great work and it's just not reflecting in our consultation process and our engagement, which is quite sad. So I do agree with everything that Geraint said, just that we need to engage with people, and for an event like what Geraint's been at, and to say that, you know, there was hardly anyone at the age of 60, I won't go off his judgment mind based on how he only thinks people are, but that's still concerning. I'm sure you can walk into a room and identify that there's no young people in that room. So yeah, I think that's something I really want us to focus on as a council and commit to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? No one is indicating, so we'll take it to a vote then, please. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, Annual Scrutiny Report 2022 to 2023. To consider the report to the Deputy Chief Executive, and that's Councillor Andrew Barry again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Annual Scrutiny Report 2022-23. The report covers the role and work of scrutiny over the last municipal year 22-23. We operate an executive and scrutiny model with scrutiny as one of the pillars of governance at the heart of the model. The structure allows for the monitoring of performance, challenging financial proposals, reviewing services, contributing to policy development, amongst other activities. The report covers the technical aspects of the operation of scrutiny. I think it's safe to say, Mr. Mayor, that we're steadily moving away from the solitary model of a committee meeting based scrutiny to a model where far more comprehensive methods are being introduced. You can see that at Appendix 1 under the comparative data. Although there is a slight reduction in the number of items presented in scrutiny over the past year, that's countered by a significant increase in the number of items presented to pre-scrutiny. Members will also see an increase in the methods employed. External representatives attending scrutiny, task and finish groups, workshops and site visits. The improvements sit alongside the launch of the Scrutiny Practical Guide, member training, scrutiny training, earlier pre-meetings, more aligned scrutiny to work programmes, the introduction of quarterly technical meetings with the chair, the vice chair, portfolio lead, director or head of service, scrutiny officer and the cabinet member, all of which can be seen in more detail at section 6 of the report. There's been much success over the last year within the authority, multiple awards and in a wide variety of directorates, financial assurance through consecutive surpluses, both newly elected members and very experienced chairs leading the way in this transformation exercise on scrutiny, along with every member and officer taking part in the scrutiny process across all directorates, has led to significant progress in scrutiny over the past year. Longer serving members remember all too clearly the criticism levelled at scrutiny by Wales Audit and the focus given to effective scrutiny by the Assurance Board in this very chamber 2-3 years ago. To all those involved in scrutiny, both members and officers over the past year, I say thank you for a job well done. If there is one area for improvement, and it was touched on earlier, the process was anyway, it will be how we evidence effective change from the scrutiny process to our policies and strategy formation. This has already been highlighted and will improve, I'm sure, still further over the next municipal year. 2 recommendations, Mr. Mayor, 2.1 and 2. 2.1, the Council's ongoing scrutiny improvement programme as detailed in this report be noted, and 2.2, the annual scrutiny report for 2022-23 be approved. Happy to move the annual report on scrutiny, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Second report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a feeling that Councillor Clive Jones may have a question on this report.
I wondered how you knew that, Mr. Mayor. I just repeat it anyway. Page 81, paragraph 5.4. It's the last sentence there. It says, we will also endeavour to fill any vacant co-opted members' positions to ensure there is a wider voice present at scrutiny, including the voices of those who work and live within the county borough. I noticed, having read the report from the various chairs, that there is at least 6 vacancies for the co-opted members. 3 of those are in social services, 2 of which are public appointments. Can someone tell me what steps have been taken to fill these vacancies, and particularly in relation to social services, because from my memory, the ones in social services have not been filled for quite some time.
Okay, Councillor Barry, you want to
I
answer that?
was going to say either safe. Would Hannah, would you contribute to that as well, or would you just be safe?
Yeah, happy to come in there, Councillor Jones. So we work with Democratic quite closely, particularly around any sort of new co-opted member positions. In fairness to Democratic Services, they do often sort of put banners on the page and try and get members of the public to put forward any interests in becoming a co-opted member. And when that process is introduced, it's fairly smooth in terms of enrolling them and providing training, etc. But we are struggling, in all honesty, to get the number of co-opted member positions filled, particularly for social care, as you say. But yeah, we certainly do strive to fill any vacancies. And if members have any suggestions, perhaps, on how we can strengthen that message, that would be useful.
So, Mr. Mayor, how many times have they been advertised? A number of times in the last 12 months, and you're not getting any applicants? or have you identified what seems to be the problem?
Yeah, I think Anne would like to make a comment.
Hi, yes, on our webpage, there's on our website, sorry, there's a web page that is constantly advertising the co-opted member positions, the vacant co-opted members positions. Whenever we get an opportunity, we raise that. We go to the voluntary sector and we ask for representation from the voluntary sector. We go to Merthyr Tydfil Youth Forum and we ask for representation from the Youth Forum. When it comes to the education scrutiny committee, we have diocesan representation, which we've just appointed somebody new. We have governor representation as well. So we don't just go out to the public, but we do approach those different groups as well. So it's on the website all the time. Occasionally then we put it into the contact mag. We'll keep flagging it up. We'll keep telling councillors, if you know somebody who's interested, please get in touch with us, please let us know. And we do promote it as much as possible. Yeah, we do struggle to get them. And then when people do join, they don't necessarily stay on that committee for a long time. Sometimes they don't realise how much commitment is needed. And when they come along, perhaps they have difficulties, you know, staying on that committee.
Thank you. I've got a follow-up because it is connected directly with the co-opted members situation. I'm on 2 scrutiny committees, and from what I've noticed is that the attendance of the co-opted members, there are some who attend on a regular basis and make a valid contribution, but there are others who attendance, frankly, needs to be looked at. And could I suggest that perhaps once a year that we try and get all the co-opted members together to find feedback as to what are the issues, what are their concerns, because I think it's a real issue and they should be a real contributor to all these scrutiny committees.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Darren Roberts, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question for the leader who chairs Cabinet. Do you have a forward work programme for Cabinet, please, Geraint?
Yes.
Where is it published? Because I've checked back on the Cabinet agendas and it's not listed on there. So where can members have access to the forward work programme if possible?
I'll have to check with the officers on that one. Oh, sorry, Anne wants to come in there.
Yeah, Anne Taylor again, please.
Sorry, I should have sat at the front. Yeah, the forward work programme for Cabinet is on the website. I will send a link to all councillors before I leave the chamber tonight, but the forward work programme for Cabinet is on the website.
So yeah, I mean, if it was included into the agenda, I know a lot of members look at the Cabinet agenda to see what's on there. I certainly do. I wasn't aware that it was on the website, so thanks for sharing that. And that's probably one of the reasons why, if you look at Appendix 1 over the last year and a bit, that there's been no Cabinet call-ins. That's probably the reason why that is the case. So, you know, having sight of that forward work programme gives members and scrutiny chairs the opportunity to look at what's coming forward for Cabinet and possibly call in the process. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any other questions? Councillor James Grilling, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going through, obviously, the report and just sometimes linking back to things I've already said in terms of the participation strategy, the engagement strategy, but specifically around the youth forum members that we have vacancies for. Do we know if there's been any response off the participation service in SMT why we can't fill those roles? Is there a lack of interest or is it a capacity issue? Do we know actually why we can't fill those spaces?
Can I answer?
Sue Walker will answer that for you.
That. It's a conversation that I've had with Councillor Scriven. A lot of it is timing. And actually, some of the young people who are interested in doing it are the ones that have either GCSEs or A levels in the college. So it is their capacity and it is their time. But I've got a meeting with Chloe coming up to and with the council and with the young people to actually see how we can actually who's interested. And it is then going back to Anne to see what training we need to put in place for these young people. You know, they're quite detailed reports that come to them. And it's how we actually support them in understanding the process and being able to take it through. But the reason we haven't had many this year is the age of the young people, and they've been focusing, as I would say, rightly so, wouldn't I, on their exams moving forward.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Sue. And I guess if an additional question's okay, Mr. Mayor, but it'd be in terms of if that's a corporate priority to us in having those young people engaged, which I would hope that it is there any additional support that we could offer in terms of easing that process of transition into a scrutiny committee, supporting them to understand the paperwork? Because as an office and another authority that supports young people on scrutiny, I know the amount of time it takes to go through the paperwork, then go through it with the young people to make sure they understand what's going on and they're able to be informed and ask questions. It's a difficult thing, and obviously I'm aware of the situation with SMT, that we don't have the same sort of funding to other authorities that are commissioned service and they are at capacity working anyway. So I just wonder, is there anything we could do as a council that might support that process and those young people to engage with us?
We take it back, Anne, and we can have a discussion about it. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, sorry. We do have regular meetings with education staff and with the support for the young people for the youth forum. So we do that. So yeah, we'll just have another conversation with them, and say, is there anything additional that we can do? We have them, but we'll bump it up.
Thank you. Any further questions? No, any comments then, please? Councillor Scriven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It'd just be a quick one, and I guess I know everyone's working really hard and doing all that we can to try and fill these posts, and obviously we're doing a lot of good work in terms of scrutiny and where we're moving forward with things and improving. But I guess the only thing I'd like to say is that to try and not always be so hard on ourselves in this area, because we've got to remember the situation that the public are in around us, as Andrew's already referred to. We're in a bit of an economic crisis, and it's one of those times for people where it's a time to be selfish, really, and they've got to put themselves first, and they're thinking about themselves, their families, the time that they spend, the things that they commit themselves to. So I totally understand the difficulty that officers are going through in trying to recruit and all the things they're going through, because I see it myself with my own work, my own family, and the way that people are struggling and able to make ends meet in order to actually get the time to actually do these things. Most people are working, even young people now working 2, maybe 3 jobs. So to actually find the time and commitment to sit on a scrutiny panel, it's a big thing. It's a big commitment. So I do think that we'll continue to struggle until things change, really, in terms of central government and Westminster government. Things are not going to get better until the bigger picture improves and people find that they've got the right support and time to do this. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, all the work that you're doing to try and promote this. But I totally understand if we struggle to get these posts filled, because it's not an easy job, and it'd be hard found to find people who've got the time to do this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clive Jones, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I need to say that and reiterate, as it's already been mentioned, that this was an item that was referred to by the Assurance Board. And frankly, I think we're on a journey of improvement in this group. We're not there, I don't think, quite yet. And the way that scrutiny is run is varied throughout Wales. For example, there's a lot of work being done before it comes to committee, not only in the pre-meetings, and sometimes, we have more than one, but there's emails going back and forth as well about various matters. Now, the public don't see that. So there is, in my view, compared to what we were doing previously, There is more being undertaken before the committee takes place. And as I said, we're on a journey. I'm sure as we go along, we'll find other ways to improve the function.
Okay, thank you. Councillor David Isaac, please.
Yeah, thanks. Jamie picked up on it. In this financial situation, people haven't got time. But there's also the mindset of time is money, and that they don't do anything for nothing. And so that consideration ought to be given for a payment of some sort for attendance to these committees to make up for the differentiation for when they don't or can't work. So that's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Councillor Andrew Barry, this will close the debate. So anybody else got any comments to make before I hand back to Councillor Barry? Councillor Darren Roberts, please.
Yeah, just one point, Mr. Mayor. I've logged on to the council website just to check the cabinet work forward work plan, and it only shows for 3 months in 2023 and nothing showing for 2024. So unless we're not planning past September, there's nothing actually listed. Just like to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll get that looked at for you, Councillor Roberts. If there are no other comments, then we'll go on to Councillor Andrew Barry.
Sorry. Yeah, I just to kind of what Councillor James Scribner said earlier. Let's not beat ourselves up about this. You know, the transformation where we are on scrutiny from where we were is tremendous. You know, as I pointed out in the delivery of the report, you know, what we do now compared to what we did is a tremendous change. Safety on the team to be congratulated in that, and as I said in the report, all members as well. It is a journey. I'm really pleased to hear Councillor Jones saying that he identifies it's a journey. We're not the finished article. There's a long way to go. And I think for me, it's closing that loop between what scrutiny does and an effective link to the strategy and policy formation at the other side of that. I think there's work we need to do there. I take Dan Roberts's, Councillor Dan Roberts's point that if he didn't know it was on the website, then there's a learning and a training need there that we need to address, because that needs to be available to everybody, particularly from a scrutiny perspective. So there may be something we need to look at there as well. Other than that, you know, the report reflects a good year overall, and I think, you know, everybody concerned, as I said earlier, needs to be congratulated. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take that to a vote now then, please.
Can I ask Councillor Claire Jones then, are you voting for, against or abstaining, please? For. Thank you. And that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next item, agenda item number 9 is an information report. Next item on the agenda after that is item number 10, deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. I've been asked to read a message from Councillor Darren Roberts, leader of the Labour Group. During the summer recess, one of our council members has a very special birthday. The Labour Group would like to wish its deputy leader, Councillor Clive Jones, a very happy 80th birthday on the 16th of August. We hope Clive takes the time during recess to relax with Jane and his family and enjoy his big day. And I'd also like to emphasise that applies also from all the independent group as well. Happy birthday, Clive. Yeah.
And he's blushing, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I don't do that very often, but
Clive would also like to say a few words to the council as well on different matters.
thank you for the wishes of everyone. You know, somebody put this on my tie. It was a Labour member actually who did it as soon as I got in the car tonight. I can't believe that I'll be reaching that age next month. But frankly, at this moment in time, I'm enjoying being in the council chamber. I've been a political animal, I think, since probably about the age of 5. And I'm in other activities, which clearly has kept me going. So thank you all very much for your wishes.
Okay. And did you want to say your piece as well now, Clive?
Yes, I nearly forgot that.
Not all about you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for reminding me. At the last council, because it was referred to people who are retiring, I forgot to mention the head of planning, Hugh Roberts, who's left us last month. And also Janice McIntyre, who spent many years working in particularly the education department, has finished. And Gary Harrington, who was one of our highways inspectors, is actually finishing today. And he's done 40 years and 5 months. I don't know whether it's possible, Mr. Mayor, to write to these individuals, thanking them all for their service to the local authority.
Yep, certainly we can do that. That's say with gratitude for all they've done over the years for the council. They've been great servants.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Item number 11, to receive communications from His Worship the Mayor. There are no other communications other than what we've dealt with. Agenda item number 12, in order for the following to be considered in private, it's suggested that the public be excluded from the meeting on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 12 and 13 under Part 4 of Schedule 12A, Section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972. Would somebody like to move Section 100? Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Who's Section 100, Mr. Mayor?
And the seconder, please, Councillor Andy Barry.
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we take a vote on that then, please.
Councillor Claire Jones, are you voting for, against, or abstaining, please? For. Thank you. That's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Can we make sure the recordings are turned off then, please?